Good morning, Stampers. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to a bonus Facebook Live for this week. My name is Sherry Roth. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Alberta, Canada, and normally I do my Facebook Lives on Friday, but for the month of January and February, I've been focusing on celebration products in my Friday Lives, and I really wanted to highlight this On the Horizon bundle, so I decided to schedule in a bonus Facebook Live. So today, that is the collection that we're going to focus on. Now, I know that many of you, or some of you, might be over in our celebration extravaganza watching the tail end of Tracy's Facebook Live. We kicked off our winter celebration extravaganza on Sunday with daily Facebook Lives. The event actually isn't until Saturday, but the inspiration that we've shared already is incredible. So if you are not registered and would like to get in on that, you can still register. After I post my video, I'll post a link in the description to where you can find more information. Unfortunately, you won't receive a kit to do the make and takes, but I can send you the instructions or the measurements so that you can pre-cut your own kit for the make and takes on Friday. But we've been doing daily Facebook Lives leading up to the event, and like I said, the inspiration and the ideas that we've shared already are incredible. Okay, so welcome everyone. Now, how many of you have this beautiful collection on your wish list? This can be found in the January to June mini catalog on pages 42 and 43. You can see that there's some beautiful samples in here. So it includes some DSP, a bundle with a stamp and die set, some ribbon, and some pebbles enamel shapes. So let me share those products with you. Okay, so here's the stamp set and the dies. You'll see me use some of those today. The showstopper of this suite is really the DSP. The DSP is incredible. It's got this beautiful watercolor background. So let me just do a casual flip through here. So on one side, there's these beautiful watercolor kind of scenes that you can build on to create a beautiful project. Aren't they amazing? And then when you flip it over, I'll share in just a second, we've got some watercolor backgrounds that are not necessarily, they don't lend towards scenes. Of course, you can use them to create your own scene. Look at that one. Beautiful. So they're just kind of more watercolor background type images and in different colors. And so you can die cut some of these with some of the coordinating dies and build on these backgrounds. Like, it's the versatility of this paper is incredible, and it coordinates with so many different things in the annual catalog as well. Okay. So the other two products, let me just quickly share. We've got the ribbon, and this ribbon, it's an 1/8 of an inch. It's cotton ribbon. It's so soft, and it ties bows beautifully and doesn't add a lot of bulk, which is always really, really nice. And then, of course, we've got the pebbles enamel shapes, which we're going to use today. Now, I do want to point out that these currently are not available to order. They are on back order, and Stampin' Up! Doesn't do back orders anymore. What they do is they turn off the number, and it's not orderable until they get their stock back in. So if you love this collection and you go to try to enter that product number to order the entire suite, that product number will not go through. And it's because this item is not available. So you'll have to enter each item separately and just leave these off until they come into stock. The good news is, according to our inventory status report, they are due in sometime next week. So providing everything goes smoothly, hopefully it won't be too much longer. Okay, so I wanted to point that out. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Let me pull out my pieces here. Okay, so we're going to use two different patterns. We're going to use this one as our background, and then we're going to use this one to do some layering, and we're going to use a little bit of this back piece of this one as well. Okay, so I've got my two 6x6 pieces, and I'm going to start by cutting this piece. I apologize, my chair is really, really noisy. So if you can hear that creaking sound in the background, that is my chair. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut it to 3 3/4, just like that. And then I'm going to rotate it and I'm going to cut a little bit off the top. I'm going to cut it at 5 inches. Okay, I'm going to set this aside. Okay, and now we need to do, I'm going to set this one aside for now. We need to do a little bit of die cutting. So what I'm going to do, where are my dies? Here they are. Okay, so I'm going to use layering circles. Now we're going to do a technique or a version of a technique today that's called spotlighting. Spotlighting is a technique where you have a background and you normally die cut or punch a portion of that background and then kind of put emphasis on it so that it kind of spotlights that area. So we're going to choose the, make sure I've got the right size. I think it is the 3rd largest. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 3rd largest. And we're going to die cut a portion of the paper out like that. And then from this piece, this scrap piece here, I'm going to take the smallest circle and I'm going to cut a circle out of that. Okay, so I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss. Let's move this out of the way here. So, good morning. Let me just catch up on the comments here. Oh, Carol gets her paper on Friday. Good morning, Shirley. Good morning, Karen. Oh, Karen just got her bundle. Yay. And Sue, hers arrives on or tomorrow. Good, good, good. Good morning, Lorraine. Welcome. So it sounds like lots of you have this on your wish list or have it coming. That's awesome. It is such a beautiful bundle. Such a beautiful bundle. Okay, so for those of you who are just joining in, I've cut down my DSP and I'm going to just cut out a circle from the larger piece, and then from this smaller piece, let's do it this way, I'm going to cut out a small circle. So about there. Okay, and then we're just going to feed this through. I think I've got everything else die cut, so I don't think I'm going to need my Stampin' Cut and Emboss anymore. Slide this out of the way. Okay. All right. So I'll put these back on here so that I don't lose them, and then we can set those aside. Okay, so now I'm going to put this back in here because I want to stamp on it, and you could stamp on it before you do this as well. And we're going to bring this out and set that aside. I'm going to take the little bird images, so the little birds that are in here, I'm going to use Memento ink. I'm going to ink up my birds and stamp them so that they kind of go across, so they're partially on the circle and then partially on the background, because I'm going to be using both pieces. Okay, so we've got our birds. And then while I've got my Memento ink out, I'm going to take the Thanks for Everything, and on this little circle here, I'm going to ink up just the word thanks. So I can see, because I've got my labels on the back of my stamps, I can see where the word thanks ends. And by flipping it over, I can see as well. So I'm just going to ink that up and then stamp this down. And it just fits on here. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we've got those pieces. I'm going to separate that for a minute. Okay, and then I've gone ahead and I've die cut some other pieces. Let me pull them out so that I can explain what I've got here. So I cut the corresponding scallop circle from Evening Evergreen, which is the green, the darker green that's in the background here. So this is the 3rd largest scallop circle. So that's going to layer nicely on there. And then that is going to cover over our hole and pop it up. So you can see how that we kind of highlighted a portion of that DSP. but we're going to step this up just a little bit more. So what I've done is I've taken a scrap piece of this pattern paper, which this is the background, the back of it, or the front of it, and this is the back, however you want to describe it, and I've die cut 2 pieces. So I took my dies and I used this piece here and this tree die here, and I die cut those 2 from this pattern paper. And then what I did was the back of this piece is this green bit. I die cut the grass from this green bit because I want to create a bit of dimension on this background piece as well. Okay, so all of these little scraps, these pieces, you'll end up with like little strips like this. These, you don't want to get rid of these because these are great for kind of building up layers on your background. Okay, and even for stamping greetings on and then die cutting, like they're great little pieces. You don't want to get rid of those. You want to keep those. Okay, and then the last thing that I did was I cut the smallest scallop circle to back this piece here. Okay, so now we've got all of our pieces. We can go ahead and start assembling. This is going to mat this piece. So this is a piece of evening evergreen that measures 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. So it's just 1/8 of an inch bigger so that we have just a thin little border going all the way around the edges. And then we've got a thick white card base. All right, good morning, Elaine. Good morning, Lori. Good morning, Susan. And another Susan, welcome. We're playing with the New Horizons suite today. Okay, so we're gonna bring this piece in and we're gonna decorate this first. So I'm going to use a little bit of multi-purpose glue and add just a little bit of glue to this piece here. And what I do want to do is I want to make sure that my piece is straight. So let's make sure that this is straight. I'm going to position this on here, push down a little bit, and then I'm going to lift this piece up. Once I've got that on there, then I'm good. And then I'm going to take this piece and add a dimensional and then a portion of a dimensional. And we're going to add that on top. So we're going to layer and create some dimension. Excuse me. Okay. So we've got that going straight. That's going to go on there like that. So you can see it looks like hills in the background with our trees. And then I'm going to flip this around and trim around my circle. And I kind of have my scissors so they're at an angle. So this top blade is against the circle. And that's going to make sure that the layers are just a little bit wider and not too short. Okay, so all of those are garbage. So now we can put this onto our scallop background. And I'm going to need some more glue here pretty soon. This is almost empty. So that's going to go on there. It's hard to see on that black background. So that's going to be our focal point. We can go ahead and adhere this to our evening evergreen layer. Just like that. This is going to get popped up using dimensionals right over top. So that, again, this is our spotlighted piece. So some other ways that you can spotlight is you can stamp a background in just a solid color, and then you can die cut your shape or punch your shape, and then you can color in that punched piece or that die cut piece, and that will spotlight it. So there's several different ways that you can do it. Okay, I think that looks straight. So pop that up. So there you go. We can add that to our background. Just use my bone folder, fold it nice and crisp. Actually, before we do that, no, we can add this to our background. We can finish it off while it's still stuck to our card front. Okay, pop that in there. So you can see we've got a thicker white border all the way around the edges. I love the difference, like the contrast of a thin border and then a wider border. I think it looks so sharp. Okay, and then our grass is going to go in the lower left corner, and this is going to give the look that it's a little bit closer and then this is a little bit further away. So it adds some dimension to our, or some depth to our project. Okay, and you saw that I didn't put adhesive all the way up because I like to have some movement to different pieces on my project. So I kind of curled that up and it just gives that grass a little bit of movement. So you can see that it adds a little bit of depth. And then we're going to take these two pieces. We'll add these to our card front. So, and we're going to pop this up with a dimensional because this is actually, we're going to use a double dimensional. So this is going to go on right about here. So I'm going to put this, and because we've got a dimensional on this background and then a dimensional on this background, I'm going to layer two dimensionals and then pop this up. And this will make it an even height with that highest layer. Okay, so we could leave it at this, but we're going to step it up a little bit more. We're going to add two more things. We're going to take a piece of this beautiful ribbon. We're going to tie a bow. Oh, thank you for sharing, Jean. That reminds me that if you share any of my videos or participate in the conversation, so comment, then you have the opportunity to win the projects that I create. So as long as it's a mailable project. So thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Okay, so I'm just tying a bow with this beautiful ribbon. And then I'll trim the edges and add this on here. We'll use a little mini glue dot to stick this on. And we're going to put it right here, right in the corner. Just like that. And then we're going to do one last thing. These little loose flower flourishes from the annual catalog, these work perfectly with this suite, especially with the little grass. So I'm going to take, let's use, because we've got a little bit of purple up here, I'm going to use the purple ones. I'm going to take a big one and a little one. And you know what? We're going to come back and add those. Let's stamp our inside first. Just because I like to use multi-purpose glue when I do those, and sometimes they'll slide off. You need to give it a minute to set. So we'll stamp our inside first. So I'm going to use some old olive ink, and I'm going to use the grass image from the stamp set. Just ink this up. And stamp it down in the corner here. And then that thanks for everything stamp, I'm going to clean that. And then I'm just going to bring in a scrap piece of paper here. I'm going to give it a huff just to make sure that there's no ghosting, because what I want to do is I want to ink up the for everything. Now you can use your Stampin' Write marker. If you've got a black Stampin' Write marker, you can use that. But this is a great way if you don't have the markers. If for some of our stamps, some of the greetings, there's enough of a distinction between different parts that you can ink them up separately. So just like I did the thanks on the front, I'm going to ink up just the for everything for the inside. And I've got a little bit of black on that S, so I'm just going to use my finger and just wipe that off. And then we're going to stamp that right on here, like that. Okay, now we can go back to the front of our card and finish it off. So I'm just going to add a little dot of glue here and another one right here. And we'll add our little flowers. And there we go. We've got this beautiful, calm, serene card with lots and lots of dimension and depth to it, just from using those dies and that beautiful pattern paper. So there's the first card that I wanted to share with you. Now let's move on to the next one. Okay, let me just slide this out of the way. Okay, this next card was actually inspired by Shelley Gardner, our co-founder. She and Sarah demoed this suite at our onstage event in November. And she created this tag that I absolutely loved. So I'm going to recreate the tag, or a version of the tag. It's not going to be exactly the same. But I'm going to recreate the tag and add it to a card. Okay, so I'm using this particular pattern paper, which I don't think she used this one. I think she used a different one. And what I've done is I've cut from the Tailored Made tag dies. I've cut this largest tag, so the one with the straight corners rather than the decorative corners, from Misty Moonlight cardstock. And then I cut a piece of DSP, and I used this particular DSP. I cut it out of the middle. Now, the only reason I cut it out of the middle was because I went to my scraps. Whenever I'm cutting a piece of pattern paper, I always go to my scraps first to see if I can use scraps before cutting into a full piece. So, and I happen to have cut pieces out of the bottom and out of the top for a different project, but I had enough out of the center that I could do. So I happened to cut this piece. It happens to be out of here, but you could do down here, you could do up here, you could do any portion of any pattern paper. Okay. And this piece measures 1 3/4 by 3 5/8. And what I want to do is, this is going to layer on top of this, but I didn't want to use the smaller size tag because I didn't want the stitching on both. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slide this in behind. I'm going to line it up with the top and the side, and I'm going to cut, just follow this shape, and then I'm going to move it down and do the same thing. Okay, and then when I go to put this on, it's pretty much a perfect layer for inside that tag. Okay, all right, so now we're going to stamp on this. So I'm going to take this, I just need to clean it because I had used it in Old Olive for the last card. This time I'm going to use it in some Smoky Slate. So I'm going to grab this. So I've got some Smoky Slate ink. We're just going to ink this up and stamp it kind of a little bit off to the left, just like that. And then I'm going to make another thank you card. You can use any greeting for this, but I'm going to use I think I'm going to use the thanks. What other greetings do we have in here? Oh, I can do the thinking of you. You know what? Let's do the thinking of you for this one. Okay, so let me just clean this so that I can use this block. Okay, we'll switch out our stamps and use thinking of you. Okay, and I'm going to bring in my card base. My card base is a piece of thick Whisper White. And Our card is going to be a landscape card this time, so I'm going to put it this way. And I'm going to take the Thinking of You. I'm going to use some Petal Pink ink. Petal Pink is one of the colors that are in here. And you can see that that's kind of an orangey, pinky color. So that's where I've pulled that color from. And I'm going to stamp this kind of not all over the background, but in multiple places around the background. So, and because this is a lighter ink, I'm going to re-ink it each time. Sometimes when I do this, I don't re-ink it, but this is a really light color. Let's see. And I'm not too worried about overlapping because this is going to cover some of that anyways. Okay, let's do, where's my scrap paper here? Here it is. Let's do a couple off the edges. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in my blending brush. Let's see, let's find, we'll use the orange because I think it's a little bit more orange. So I'm just running this on here just to make sure there's no dark color. There is a little bit of color that comes off, but it's not too bad. We're going to add a little bit more Petal Pink kind of in the background. Now this is what ours look like. I have lots of ours, but I did have some before Stampin' Up! Started carrying them. So this is one of the older ones that I have. It just happens to be a little bit smaller, but it works the exact same way. So I'm going to go in a circular motion, a really light touch so that I don't have any harsh color added. And I'm basically just kind of going over where I've added my words. And when I put it down, normally I'll start off of my paper and work my way on, but because I'm just adding color within the confines of my card front, I don't want to start off. So I start where I know it's going to be covered, just in case you end up with some harsh marks. With darker colors, you'll find that sometimes you end up with like a darker spot when you first put your brush down onto your, okay, I think that's good. All right, I'm going to add, I think, just another couple here. There we go. Okay, and just a little bit more down here. Okay. So again, because that overlap, don't worry about that. That will get covered over nicely. All right, so we're gonna bring in our tag and we're gonna take some glue and add this to our tag. I'm not worried about covering over that hole because I am actually not even gonna use the hole. But you can just punch another hole just using the back as a guide if you wanted to feed your ribbon through. Okay, and then I took a piece of white cardstock and I die cut one of the fence images. So I used this longer one. And what I'm gonna do is just use my bone folder and just curl it just a little bit. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of glue to this outer piece and this outer piece because I want the fence to have some dimension. And then this is going to get put on like this. And I'm going to squeeze them together a little bit. So can you see that dimension on there? How it's stuck down here and here, but it's popped up here. Good morning, Shauna. Welcome. Okay, so we've got a little bit of dimension on there. Now what we're going to do is that is going to get popped up onto our card front. So I'm going to grab some dimensionals, pop this up. And then we're going to use some of the pink ribbon and tie a bow. So I'm just going to position this, and you still want to be able to see the greeting. So I've got a greeting down here and a greeting up here that I can see. So I purposely made a point of making sure that you could still see that greeting. I know, Mary Liz. Isn't that fence just adorable? Okay, so now I've got some of the pink ribbon. Again, I'm going to tie a bow. I fell in love with the fence. Oh, well, thanks for watching, Barb. I'm glad you're enjoying the cards. All right, so we're going to trim this, and we'll use a mini glue dot to adhere this onto our tag. I'll just stick that right in the center. And then add that on there. Super cute. Now we're going to do one more thing. We're going to take these adorable little pebble enamel shapes, and we're going to add these on here. So I'm going to use a mix of colors because you know what? Pebbles are all different colors. We're just going to add one here. We'll take a gray one. We'll add the gray one here. And then we'll do a lighter gray. Let's use this long skinny one. And pop that on there. Actually, let's do it this way instead. There we go. Fold our card. And then look how pretty that is. It's just so soft and so elegant. Now let's go ahead and, oh, seashells would be great. Yes, definitely. Okay, we're gonna go in and add some grass on the inside. Another way to use those little scraps, those strips that I told you that you don't want to throw away, which, do I still have them on my table here? I had them here. What I like to do with some of these scraps is these types of pieces are great for just adding on the inside of your card. Thinking of you is a great sentiment for this card, isn't it? All right, so we're just going to add this to the inside, and maybe we'll add a couple more stones on the inside here. I think that'd be cute. All right. Just bring in a little bit more color. There we go. All right, and there's the inside of our card. So there's the outside, and then let me bring in the first one that I did, this one here. This product suite is just so calming and just, I just love it. It's so, so pretty. So if you guys fell in love with this suite, you'll definitely want to check out the On the Horizon class to go that I have going on right now. So in that class, we're going to make 6 additional cards using this collection of products. So 6 different cards, plus the 2 that I shared today. Plus, I believe there are a couple bonus cards as well in the tutorial. So there's lots of great inspiration. So you don't want to miss out. Tomorrow is the deadline to register for the class to go, but the tutorial will still be available. So I'm going to share a quick peek at the cards that we'll be making in class so you can check them out. And I will have a link in the description to where you can find both the tutorial and the details for the class to go. So tomorrow is the deadline, and tomorrow, what is the date? I don't even know what the date is today. Lost track of time. What's the date today? Today is the 26th. So the deadline is January 27th. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed that inspiration, and for all of you who have your collections coming, enjoy playing with it. And if you do create something with it, or when you do create something with it, I'd love for you to share it with me. I'd love to see what you're making. All right. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. I will see you again at 11 a.m. Mountain Time on Friday, right back here. Take care. Bye-bye.